Hello, viewers. It has been a minute, but we are here today to give you juicy updates and news. You are welcome to News Trend. So like I said, we are here to give you juicy news. But before we start, let me introduce my co-host and guests, my usual co-host and guest. You're welcome on the show, sir.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you for obliging. So we are going to be starting with the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board and their issues with the students. I am sure that if you are in Nigeria, you will know that that is what is trending now. Like if you don't have a sibling, you will have a child, you have a grandchild, you will have a cousin, a niece, a nephew who is involved in this in this ongoing brouhaha. What would I call it? And this involves the mass failure in the recent UTME, 2025 UTME, the mass failure and the outcry, the people's outcry, and even the students' outcry saying, oh, it's not possible for me to have, this is not my result, I know how I read, and some even did better in their previous, in other exams, and this JAMB, they are doing woefully, and because of all this, because of the several complaints, the board itself, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, and especially the registrar, Professor Oloyede, decided that, we are going to have a review session, and that indeed did hold on Tuesday. But before I go further, let me allow my guests to, say something. What would you say, sir, before we even go to the...
Yeah, let me say, it's not even just previous examinations that these students passed. They also did well. Some of them did extremely well in the mock.
Yes.
I know of a student who scored 353 in the mock.
Wow, in the mock.
And then ended up with 151 in the main examination. So the discrepancy is huge. And I knew the moment I had that result that something was wrong. But over time, except of course maybe a few, Nigerians have come to trust the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board as a standard and trusted examination board. And that's why you see over time, some government and private institutions are already enlisting JAMB to conduct their examinations. Federal Road Safety Corps, police, Nigerian Immigration Service, everybody's tilting towards JAMB, command rescues. Even WAEC, West African exam, is going there to go and learn. So that from next year when they start using the CBT,
yes, I heard,
which is the computer-based test,
yes,
they can also perfect the system. So that tells you the level of trust in JAMB. So JAMB itself, when the results came, was so sure that these students didn't do well. It was so sure because a lot of people believe in that system. Even the system itself believes in itself. And especially because of the integrity of one man, Professor Ishaq. People seemed over time to have built confidence in him, including the government. Because before now, what we knew of JAMB was that it was a den of thieves, especially with reports that came out when he became the registrar, monkey eating money, snake swallowing words of naira. So, and whether good or bad, JAMB has become a money-making agency for the federal government. Before, JAMB was only taking money from the government. Since Oluyede got in, he has been giving money back to the government. I think the first we started it was 7 billion in 1 year.
Wow.
JAMB that we always call for more money. And then it rose at some point to 20 billion. And then it's been going up since then. Meaning that the system is being tightened, being made technological savvy in a way that the number of human intervention is lower. And by that, you save money from the process. And the process also becomes better. But when we go into what happened this year, from the technical report that we've seen, we'll see that it is that process of making things get better that led to this problem.
Yes, so
And
we were told that it was because of a change, a systemic change, like 3 changes. That is why this glitch. But I think that they should have put more checks in place, or they should have found out, because at first they just came out with the news that over 70%, 78% of students scored below 200.
Yes.
They didn't even check their own.
But do you blame JAMB? Do you? When we go years back, let's even say 3 years, you'll see that things have been worsening. So it's like a trajectory. So if 3 years ago, the result was poor, poorer, poorest, and then you now get to this point and then it becomes worse, you'll assume ordinarily that it is the same issue that we're having. Yes, we said some students did well in their mock, some did well in their WASC, even before now. But when you go back and you also look at the WAEC result, you see that, yes, there was this revelation that most students appeared to have passed and they had 5 credits or more. But the core subjects for their maths and English, they didn't do well. So meaning that no matter the combination that they have, they can't qualify for university. So we need to understand. I can, like I said to some people yesterday, the first thing I would do is to say, Prof, you ought to have checked this.
True.
That something went wrong with your system. But when you look at the trajectory, it is showing to us very clearly that our education system appears to be dropping. It is not that we cannot say it should have checked, but precedence is pointing us in one direction. These students are getting worse.
Are you sure? Are you not sure that, or are you sure that what you call precedence could also have been glitches, but in smaller?
No, if there had been, the zones affected would have shown it then. The reason this came to the fore was that people in those zones affected now, they used to do well. And then number 2 is that it is widespread. It is not limited to a few centers. It is completely. And when you look at what this technical report said, these days when you do JAMB, you are seated beside me and we are doing English or maths. Your question will likely be very different from my own. It's a system that has been. So once you move out, one set, done and dusted with the exam, another set comes in, different questions entirely. They mix up, they rotate, so that the person in Kaura Namuda is answering different questions from the person in Abuja. and the person in Nnewi or Aba or Ikorodu in Lagos. You have different, so that it's not like it used to be, where one lecturer will come and open. Are you doing English? Yes. Okay. Number 1, A. Number 2, B.
Yes.
And everybody is happy, you know.
And then they come out and
that's
they
the reason,
download it to the
yes,
next
we
set.
now produce very bad students as graduates. People who can't even write one sentence of English. So it's a problem. But I'm not saying that there is no justification for what happened. No justification. But we will not say because of that, that the system should not be improved continuously.
I agree.
Look at the people they are handling the processes for now. For instance, we've been clamoring for the police to be reformed. It starts from the recruitment process. If JAMB handles that, it will be a different ball game from the police itself doing it. Look, the army did promotion from captain to major, and they told them, because that's what happens in a lot of examinations, because they give them the same questions. So the possibility of saying, my host, what's number 1? What's number 1? You quickly tell me, very high. And that's why the army won. But for JAMB, you don't need to warn anybody. You just ask, you are all doing English, Abi? Oh yeah, what's the answer to number 1? Because you won't even be able to do that, because the questions are different. Very different. So it's not a matter of defending anybody. But we've always said it. Every app, every development in the communication world, in the IT world, is subject to error. You can't run away from it. And the things they said they were trying to do, which those who attended, the Educare team gave us full gist of what happened at that review meeting, which normally JAMB will do about 3-4 months after the exam, was very detailed. Was very detailed. 3 things that they wanted to do to shift from the traditional count-based analysis to a more robust source-based analysis of results. What does that mean? The man explained. JAMB will, before now, evaluate the integrity of its examinations by counting the number of responses submitted per session. What do you mean? Session 1, English. How many people finished it? How many responses came in? Out of 100 questions, how many? So it shows you the level of understanding of those students. So a JAMB can simply say, okay, if out of 100 questions and 100 students, 99 or 90 submitted in full, okay, what's the meaning? What's the analysis? That's basically. But now he wants to shift it to something else and say, see, is the total output, will it now be based on this part? That's what it wanted to do. That's number 1, according to. Then the number 2, according to Educare, is shuffling of questions and answer options, which I just spoke about. So you won't be able to ask me while that exam is on what I've written, what I've not written, when your questions are different from mine, even though we are taking the same subject. And that, for me, is important.
That's a good one.
Optimizing performance and reducing lag during exam session was the 3rd one. So that students can put in their best. Now, what we've seen over the years, maybe except in a place like Lagos, where we're always scared of traffic, a child who has exam at 9 does not need to leave the house until about 8:39, depending on how close.
Depending on distance, yes.
Those who have at 7 know, okay, I have to sleep early and go back and go there at 7. And that exam starts at 7. The good thing about JAMB is this. When you go into the headquarters, we've seen it demonstrated to the Minister of Education online, Dr. Tunji Alausa. JAMB has the capacity to monitor every center in this country live as the examination is taking place, live. There is a control room. Every center is there, listed by state. Once you click on a state, it brings out all the centers, and then you click on the specific centers. So you are seeing those students as they are going in and coming out, whatever they are doing in the examination hall. Meaning that if we are part of that system, me and you can get on our device and watch what is happening in Sokoto State from Lagos. So those are not things that you will say can be error-proof true and true. But over time, JAMB has been improving on the process. And that, for me, is key. And the fact that even the registrar could come out to take responsibility for what went wrong shows a lot. Because ordinarily, we would have just said, like the Nigerian that we are, it was Philip that caused it, or it was Grace or Abiba that brought the problem. But it took it because somebody did not do what they were supposed to do at the right time. Rather, they did what was wrong and complicated the whole system. Now, we have 157 centers receiving this exam. When the results will come out, we'll then see, will there be a drastic difference in performance? Because I'm sure where we had that problem was, there was a set of questions, but not matched to the answer, correct answer. So meaning that it's just a matter of A, B, 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 and the thing is just to tick. So once the answers don't tally with the questions, it becomes a problem. So when you look at it, it's something that I'm still insisting. The person who failed in his or her responsibility should be made to pay for it. It should go beyond the registrar taking full responsibility.
Because he just took responsibility, didn't say exactly
what happened. What now we've seen, it's a matter of those questions, not the right questions, not going to the right centers. When they were supposed to swap questions, that's what happens based on what we've been reading.
Then couldn't this have been done with the mock?
Mock went well because that was the system that was used last year.
Was this upgrade with the mock as well?
Yes, it went with the mock. So somebody was just supposed to punch
the number of students who even do mock is not, I don't think
it's not much.
Yes,
no, I agree with you. Yeah. But even if all of them took that mock, it would still have been that way because the questions were changed, the answers were paired with them. Because when you see the rate the quick outcome from JAMB, you do your exam today, in another 1 week, the result is out. You know that thing is in a system that flows straight, not something that is you can manipulate, not something that you need to go and touch before you get your answer. So it's a big deal, and that's why I want to think that people are declaring support for the registrar because he's done well. Wherever he served, he has done well. You don't, no doubt about that.
He's done well.
We cannot, because of one error. Yes, it has affected a lot of people.
It has affected.
We were told that a student committed suicide and all of that and all of that. Because it's one of the things we should also talk about. yes, affected a lot of students. But is that enough to throw away the baby with the bathwater? I'm not sure. Some people
It shouldn't
said,
be
yes,
enough.
it must go.
Oh, some
You
people
know?
felt that his message was a bit insensitive,
Okay, maybe we can.
like
What's the
that
drive in that?
with that kind of error and all that, how would you start by saying man proposes, God disposes? Like what? Why? Sometimes I feel like we like to religionize everything in this part of the world. Where we have gone wrong and erred, instead of us to take responsibility that okay, this is what happened and this is what happened. We now put everything to providence that maybe God didn't want it to happen or something,
That way. Well, it all depends on individual perspective to issues. I read that speech in full, and what I saw there was a man trying to say, we did all we could,
All we could.
but this was the outcome that we got. Interpretations will
Yeah,
always differ
exactly. Yes.
when it comes to issues like this. Because what I saw in that man proposes, God disposes is we have done our part. We have done all we could, but see where we ended because of one man's error.
And then I also have issues with the rescheduling. Okay, yes, there's been an error, and then you are trying to correct, correct something. But from the news that we got, the students were only given 24 hours to the resitting of the exam.
Somebody brought up that issue yesterday also.
Yes.
And my response was this. These students are in the examination period, starting with JAMB. They are writing WASC now. So what better time can they do it? You want it to be after WASC? They're in the examination period. So whatever they are reading now, they are still, like we always say now, in our own era, they are very hot now. And that for me, if not for, because they envisaged it, they said some students will likely be writing agriculture tomorrow, which is Saturday. But they envisaged it that what they can do if there is a clash is to ensure that those students write either before or after the exam.
I don't have problems with that. I have problem with
the timing.
Dissemination of news. It was not all the students, and I am very, very sure that some of the students who took the exam, it wasn't all the students who were supposed to receipt that actually did sit for the exams today. Because the information was not passed around. Not everybody knew. Some people heard from somewhere. Some people just thought, okay, let me even check this site. And they just saw that they were surprised.
Don't forget, like I've always said, even on this program, people don't read. That's why we're having the issue. Some knew that this press conference was addressed by Professor Oluyede. And it was very clear when he said it that they were going to have a receipt. They have contacted WAEC, West African Examinations Council, and they were going to work within the schedule that they have with WAEC. So, if there is anybody who will miss this exam, I'm sure it must be out of carelessness. Because if you are part of the center, there are processes in place. You can contact JAMB directly. JAMB has dedicated email addresses, telephone numbers that you can call and get all of this information, even when you are not sure. But a lot of people don't pay attention to these things. They would rather do TikTok or go and look for one song to dance online.
I understand what you are saying, but
since they announced it that they started releasing results. If I'm a parent, I will ensure that I sit online and get my sons or daughters sleep. All they have even told the students is go and reprint your examination slip.
Exactly.
That's
Go and
just
reprint. But they
you have
didn't
now
know, they didn't say
reprinted.
that they were going to have
No,
the
no, no,
exams the
no.
next
It's
day.
there. It's there. You have now, once you reprint,
You
you will
now
get
see.
that information. So they knew from like Wednesday that the examinations will be on Friday and Saturday. So I agree with all of these things, but we also should try once in a while to go behind the minds of the people putting things in place. Because I believe that if they allow this JAMB stuff to wait until after WASC is over, then there's going to be that disconnection. Students are not likely to be able to pay attention again. So for me, it's a good, the timing is good for two reasons. That's the first I mentioned. People losing focus. Number two, that outcome put a lot of students almost into depression.
Yes.
So if you have it
Pressure.
now, and they're able to get the score the ordinary would have gotten, then it will help them to write their WASC better. I'm telling you that because
Let's not
that's where we
forget.
looked at. That's the point from which that lady or young woman who committed suicide.
But it goes both ways. Let's not forget. We
Yes.
at the Ego Online, we were out on the streets of Lagos today to these centers, where the receipting is taking place.
Yes.
And we actually spoke to some parents and some students. There were actually some students who scored well. Some scored, I spoke to someone who scored 300
Yes.
over the 400. And what is the possibility that, this second exam now, he's going to score as
Then
good?
that's where we are going to take it up. Don't forget, the media is supposed to be not just reporting, but also to be a pressure group. That student who scored 300 must stay if there is anything lower this time around. That's what we are for. Because you cannot lump everybody together. And I'm sure when they look at it, there will be specific subjects. It's not all the subjects that would have had the glitches. There will be specific. So what we need to do is to insist that those who did well in the first one should be allowed to retain their scores. We have to. Because
But now that they've done the receipts, then they shouldn't have allowed them to do the receipts in the
let's
first
wait
place.
and see it. Do you know whether that person who scored 300 will go up to 350 now? I told you of one
I
person
hope so.
who had 353 in the mock and got 151 in the main exam. Those are the issues that are being tackled now. And I believe if it is well done, we should be able to make it and get it right. So I don't see any panic. We take it step by step. Because those of us who are ailing JAMB now for that step will also be the ones to tackle JAMB. We'll do it. There is nothing that stops us from insisting that those students who had good results should not now be made subjected to having 151 now, and then we allow it to stand.
Exactly.
That will wreck their morale and self-worth.
One of the issues too that was also discussed was timing.
Yes.
Why are you putting exams at 6:30 a.m.? And from some of the students that we talked to today, some came from out of state.
Okay, good. That has also been explained. I don't also agree with it. I also don't agree with it. When these things happened earlier, for instance, in Lagos, when my own children took their JAMB. I mean, their UTME. We were staying in Ogba, and they registered early. But what we considered to be early was not actually early. Because most of the centers in the area had been filled. I have a friend, and this is where technology has its shortcomings, who stays around off the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, where you have the Mountain of Fire ministries. That place is Ogun State.
Yes.
Now, when you look at that area, the level of technology cannot be compared to what you are going to have in major cities like Shagam, like Abeokuta. So the few ones that you have around that area, they got filled quickly. And the place the system bounced the child to was Shagam, which is about, not from Ogba, from MFM, because that's in Ogun State. So you have to look at everything that is happening around this technology. It can't come into Lagos State. It belongs to Ogun State. My own kids went from Ogba and went into another local government because that was the closest at the time they registered. So until when we have enough centers that can take the technology of JAMB. Look at, I'm sure one of the places you visited would have been Ajayi Road.
Yes.
Look at how people park on both sides of the road in order to take that exam. That should tell you how much of pressure is on that center. Outside of that center, the only other visible one in the Ogba area is WAEC.
WAEC office, yes.
So how many people will those two centers take? So they need to move them out. And in the process of moving them out, it becomes an inconvenience to everybody. So what do we now say to ourselves? It means as a country, we are still lagging behind technologically. Because we should be able to have those centers in abundance, number one. Number two is that no matter how far it is, if our transportation system was working quite well, we have train, you can jump to the underground and you can move. So everything we need to keep developing. I drove my first daughter to a place over 30 kilometers from the house to write her JAMB. And she was scheduled for 7 a.m. So as a parent, what did I do? I ensured that the night before, I drove her to bed. Go and get good sleep. Number two, I ensured that I woke her up at 5 a.m. Go and get dressed. You don't need to eat. You're a big girl now, so that your tummy doesn't get upset. As soon as she entered in the car, I said, lie flat and sleep. So some of these things, I'm not defending anybody, but we need to learn to adapt. When we get better, we're all still going to enjoy it. Most of us in this country, or quite a number, have been outside this country, and we've seen how things work. But did we prepare ourselves for those things? In the US, you can vote from anywhere.
Yeah.
If we try it in this country, what will happen to us if we try it in this country? To say, yes, so yeah, let's start voting now. I said it on Journalist Hangout on TVC yesterday. I said, see, we look at other countries and we feel like that's the model. But have we prepared ourselves for it? Right. And you must be able to now say, this issue has come up. How do I adapt? How do I adapt? Somebody comes from, I had a conversation with somebody who works in one of the utility companies. And something happened and they came and disconnected that facility. And I said to the person, you know why you are very quick in doing this? It is because you have the power of life and death in your hand. In other climes, it doesn't happen that way. I have options.
Yes.
I have options, but I don't have here. So what did I do? I had to walk through their own options to arrive at what was convenient for me, because I know that if they take that facility away for too long, I'm going to be in trouble. Don't I have the right to shout and go to the media and we begin trouble? I do. But what will I do? I'll look for a way in which I'll first get back what I want. Then we can begin to negotiate. It's not the right way to go in anywhere in the world. That's not the standard human rights resolution. It's not. But if you insist on your right in some issues in Nigeria, you are going to be at the receiving end.
Exactly.
So we need to understand how these things work. If your area is Lagos, then you must ensure that you do two things. Number one, you register early. Or number two, prepare yourself for the journey. And part of the responsibilities of parents to children at this level is to ensure that we prepare them not just by paying school fees, but psychologically, emotionally. Let them get to the point where they will know that committing suicide is not
It's not it. Failing JAMB is not the end of the world.
it's not an end to your life. Because I can't just imagine what that child, maybe that child had gone through a lot.
Yes, now maybe they had even threatened from the house that you must not fail. Oh. Maybe she's done the exam before.
And the way you prepare children for things like that is go and do your best. When they come back from the small things, you look at it. If the only area where I have problem with children is if I'm not convinced that you put in your best.
Your best, yeah.
Once I'm convinced that you are putting your best, I don't need to kill you now. What I need to point out to you is you could have done this, you could have done this, you could have done this. That was why at some point when our schools still used to do first, second, third. When my children come back, especially the first one, and she takes the second position, she says, come. Let's look at your results. Out of 100 marks in about 8 subjects, you scored 97, 97. It means that person would have been using you by maybe just 2 or 3 marks. So why do you want to kill yourself? Because I also engaged in that kind of competition when I was in primary school. I still recollect the lady's name, Afusa. You see that she comes first and I come second. Or she comes second and I come first. Anytime she comes first, I'm always very angry. Always very angry. It was then I grew up and I said, okay, what was even all of this?
Yeah, exactly. What was it for?
What was it for? So that my father would not be my... Why are we struggling? And then we now push that kind of mindset. I know of a lot of parents who scolded their children over this result.
Yes.
And I said to one of them, I said, see, that's not the way to prepare children and even yourself for the future. When a child is going into an examination, the mindset is, yes, this child will make it. Psych that child. But you, as a human being, you should be having your plan B. Plan B in the sense that if this kind of glitch occurs, what are my options? And I told one of them, I said, the first thing, you remember, is that JUPEP is there for you as an option, as a way. And when a child goes into that kind of system, there won't be any glitch. So you will know the child's strength in that class. And then that child will not go and resume level 1. It's straight to 2, and they are par with their... So, but a lot of parents don't pay attention. And then some will come up and say, JUPEP is very expensive. When you now come, when I was given the payment schedule, and I said, okay, this is payment schedule for JUPEP, Abi. I saw something like 500 and something thousand in one of them. I saw another one, about 600, different universities. I said, please, can you tell me what year one students are paying, 100 level, in this university? And they brought it. And I said, yeah, show me the difference. About 30-something thousand, about 50-something thousand. Why do we kill ourselves over things that we have not even experimented with, we have not even requested for information about? So a lot of people make it look like, no, don't push your child to the point of losing confidence in themselves. It's not worth it. It's not, seriously. I always use myself as an example. I wasn't privileged to do the General Certificate of Education, the one we used to call GCE, but we did now call external Y, before I wrote WASC.
Okay.
So my first WASC, I didn't have English. No, I didn't have maths, not English, because I was quite good. It was A I got in English. So I got P in maths. That year, to study law in Ife, I got 268 in JAMB. So I wrote GC. After my WASC, I got all the papers. The following year, I wrote JAMB. I got 199. So I can imagine my dad having killed me that year, or pushed me, or my mom, to the extent that I now take my own life. Will I be here? Imagine this thing. I didn't have WASC completely. I got 268, which was bam.
Yes, very good.
To go into then I had all the papers. I got 199, and then I was told, yes, we can offer you Yoruba,
zoology,
Yoruba or Christian religious knowledge. You see my life. So how do you? A lot of things are not just worth the trouble that we go through in this country. Seriously, they're not worth it. We need to be able to talk to our children, cite them. And then you now compare your children to another, and those children become bitter with themselves. They don't want to even greet themselves because so you are the one who is making my father to exactly. You are pointing at another child. Do they have the same destiny? Have they gotten into the workplace, which is the real reality of life? The real life, to see how they are going to perform. You're talking about 2-1. We know people who had passes now, who have become senior advocates in this our Nigeria as lawyers. Don't let's mention names. That they didn't come out with 2-1 or even 2-2, and they are doing well in the legal profession than those who even have better degrees. Some have even doctorate in law, and we see all these guys becoming senior advocates of Nigeria, because sometimes the school can be a problem to people, but they get the real thing in it. You know, we've seen people who are doing well in this country who have been expelled from schools, universities, and they are doing well because the system didn't allow them to flourish. So we need to talk to our children, not in an aggressive manner. Not
threaten them.
I
spoke to a parent today who said, there's a mark you cannot bring into my house. He said, there's a mark you cannot bring into my house. I say,
and you don't treat children that way. We can't do better. That's my conclusion. That's my conclusion. Seriously, we can do better.
And the Joint Admission Matriculation Board can also do better.
Everywhere.
So let's just accept that these are baby steps, and we'll definitely, perfect everything with time.
Yes, we can.
But we are really looking forward to the outcome of this resitting.
Yes,
I'm looking forward.
In another 1 week, we should have it. And like I said, here we are going to come back to talk about it, and we will also talk about it on so many other platforms, so that people can see that if JAMB doesn't get it right again this time around, then even if they get it right, if those children who had 300, 320 don't do well, then we have to also make a case for them.
For them, yes.
We have to make a case for them. It's all round.
True. But I hope that those students now, it will now not be a case of being, demoralized, like, oh, I got it right now, and then I have to take it again. You know, it could also be some form of stress for
But
them.
the parents should talk to them
Well,
before then.
you know, it's not every parent
No, no, that's what I'm saying. That parents should listen to this and talk to their words. That's not the way of the world. Because for me, like I said earlier, what I try to build children for is the real world.
Yes,
The real world,
that's
where the competition is.
Yes.
When we look at the Tony Elumelus, the Dangotes, the Otedolas, go and check them. Most of the things that they got on the field. Those were not textbook knowledge. They weren't
Yes.
textbook knowledge. And I tell people, some of the best journalists that we've had in this country, they didn't even go to study mass communication. You see some of them, they come in with Yoruba, they come in with CRK, history, social studies, political science. But the moment you're able to apply yourself to what you are doing, that's what matters most. It's just that in this country, we have now turned certificates into employability.
Exactly, and which
No,
is not
no,
so.
it's not. Some of the best tech guys that we have in this country didn't even go past their secondary school.
True.
Some of them didn't. Yes, when you are educated, it shows in the way you handle things. But the most important thing is what you achieve on the field. Self-confidence helps in that. If you are not confident, where those who are not as knowledgeable as you are talking, you won't have a voice.
Yes.
You won't have a voice. And that's the way we should build children. To see the future from the perspective of, this is not where I am going. This is not my destination. Destination is in the outside world. JAMB will do better. If they don't, we tell them.
We are confident, and we are hoping so that JAMB should do better. And of course, like we said, when there's an update, we will definitely bring it to you. We are waiting patiently for the outcome of this receipt. This receipt that has just been concluded, or that is still ongoing.
Yeah.
We will definitely bring you the update. So don't forget to subscribe so that you get notification when we do come out with that update. And also like and share this video and follow us on all our social media handles that is in our bio. And we'll see you next time.